Summary of how emotions are made by Lisa Feldman Barrett. In times of tragedy, people often respond with similar heartfelt emotions. For example, on December 14, 2012, the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting in Newtown, Connecticut, resulted in the death of 26 people, including 20 children. Governor Daniel Malloy's emotional State of the State speech, where he honored the teachers who protected their students, moved many to tears, illustrating how emotions seem universal. This incident raises questions about whether emotions are hardwired or if they vary based on experiences and context. Lisa Feldman Barrett challenges the classical view that emotions are innate and universal, instead proposing that emotions are constructed.
Chapter 1. Scientific Evidence Against the Classical View.
Dr. Barrett began doubting the classical view of emotions during her PhD studies. Her experiments on low self-esteem, anxiety, and depression failed to produce consistent results, leading her to question the notion that emotions are predictable and uniform. Historically, thinkers like Aristotle, Darwin, Descartes, and Freud supported the classical view, which is also accepted by modern figures like Steven Pinker and the Dalai Lama. However, Barrett found that people use emotional words differently, much like how people perceive colors differently. This variation suggests that emotions are not fixed, but are complex and subjective.
Chapter 2. The Theory of Constructed Emotion.
Emotions, according to Barrett, are not reactions to the world, but constructions by the brain. She calls this the theory of constructed emotion. For example, Barrett mistook flu symptoms for attraction during a date, demonstrating how emotions are shaped by context and personal experiences. Emotions, like cookies, come in various forms, and the brain uses core systems and past experiences to construct diverse emotional responses. This theory parallels Darwin's argument against biological essences, suggesting that emotions are not innate, but are shaped by our experiences and environment.
Chapter 3. The Interoceptive Network and Your Brain's Predictions.
Emotions are linked to interoception, the brain's representation of internal bodily states. The brain uses past experiences to make predictions about the world and prepare the body accordingly. This predictive process, involving regions like the body budgeting region and the primary interoceptive cortex, influences our feelings and actions. Emotions are thus influenced by the state of our body budget, which controls energy resources like glucose and cortisol. For instance, a portable device monitoring heart rate showed increased activity in response to stress, illustrating how emotions are tied to bodily states and predictions. Chapter 4. Affective Valence and Arousal. Affect is the general feeling of pleasantness or unpleasantness valence and calmness or agitation arousal that we experience. Affect is a constant part of consciousness and influences our emotional experiences. Psychologist James A. Russell developed an affective map to track these feelings throughout the day. Affective realism, the tendency to treat affect as information about the world, can have significant consequences. For example, judges were more likely to deny parole before lunch due to negative affect. This phenomenon can lead to tragic outcomes, such as misperceptions in high-stress situations like police shootings.
Chapter 5. Emotions and Cultural Concepts.
Different cultures have different concepts of emotions. For instance, the Etka Eskimos have no concept of anger, and Tahitians have no concept of sadness. Emotions are social realities, shaped by cultural conventions and learned from our environment. The history of smiling shows how cultural conventions can shape emotional expressions. The concept of smiling, a gesture of happiness, only became prevalent in the Middle Ages. Emotions are thus constructed based on cultural and social agreements, not fixed biological responses.
Chapter 6. Learning begins at birth and never stops.
Emotion concepts are learned through experiences and language from birth. Infants use statistical learning to interpret sensory information and form predictions about the world. Words play a crucial role in this learning process, helping infants understand and categorize emotions. For instance, Barrett taught her daughter the concept of anger through repeated exposure to the word and its associated experiences. Learning continues throughout life, allowing us to refine our understanding of emotions and react more appropriately to new situations.
Final summary.
The classical view of emotions as innate and universal is challenged by new research showing that emotions are constructed through experiences and culture. Basic emotions are pleasantness, unpleasantness, calmness, and agitation, which infants display. As we grow, our experiences and language shape our understanding of more complex emotions like anger and disgust. This ongoing process allows us to develop a nuanced understanding of our emotions and reactions. Dr. Barrett encourages readers to embrace this new perspective on emotions, which has the potential to transform our health, loss, and self-understanding.